Hello, everyone, and welcome to EduMatch Tweet and Talk 49A. So follow along with us on Google Plus, as you're probably doing if you hear my voice right now, bit.ly/ Tweet Talk 49A, as well as on Twitter with the hashtag EduMatch. Speaking of EduMatch, did you know that you could be the EduMatch featured person of the day? You can do so by going to our site at edumatch.education and filling out the Google form, just telling us a little bit of information about you, and we tweet it out over the course of 24 hours, every 3 hours, dropping a golden nugget about you, and get you connections with people all around the world, other educators just like yourself, interested in the same things. So just wanted to give a huge shout out to our sponsor for our EduMatch meetup at ISTE. We're doing it in conjunction with Ed Speakers, and we have a fantastic sponsor, Ormy Board, and they are associated with XOU, so you can check them out. We'll drop their Twitter information at the end of this particular tweet and talk. So tonight's topic, as you know, this is a back-to-back episode, so we had an episode at 6, fantastic episode about digital equity regarding STEAM. Now we have another fantastic episode for you right now coming your way talking about the LMS. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and introduce the panel. We're going to start from my right and go leftward. So we'll start first with Nancy.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nancy White. I'm here in Colorado Springs, and I work as a 21st Century Learning and Innovation Specialist at Academy District 20.
Fantastic. We are very happy to have you here, Nancy. Going next to Jessica.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica Raleigh. I'm from Denver, Colorado, and I'm a program manager for the Personalized Learning Department, and we're excited to be here with all of you.
All right, wonderful, Jessica. We are very excited to have you as well. All right, next we have Dene.
Hello, everybody. It's Dene, and I am here in Orlando, Florida, teaching grade 4 language arts, 4 and 5 language arts, and I also serve as a technology coordinator and also gifted coordinator for my school.
Fantastic. Great to have you back, Dene. And last but not least, we have Adam.
Greetings, everybody. My name is Adam Phyall. I am currently serving as the Director of Instructional Technology for the Hickman Mills C1 School District. And this fall, I will be returning to Georgia, where I'll be the Director of Technology and Media Services for Newton County Schools.
All right, welcome, Adam. And I know that Georgia is glad to have you back, so fantastic. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump right in. So the first question of tonight is, what has been your experience with various LMSs? LMSI, LMSC, we've always been trying to figure out the plural of that. We have kind of a running joke, but what has been your experience with different LMS So would anyone like to jump in on that one?
I'll start it off. I use Moodle most of the time in my district. That is what the majority of our teachers are using, but we have a lot of other LMSs creeping in. Google Classroom has become really popular. We have several that use Edmodo, and our online high school actually uses Brightspace. So a lot of different systems going on.
All right, fantastic, fantastic. Who would like to go next?
I can hop in.
Okay.
Gosh, let's see. I started off using Moodle when I was in Georgia. Transitioned over to My Big Campus, which was an LMS and part of Lightspeed, and they killed My Big Campus recently. And so the district that I'm in now, we made the conversion over to Canvas, and we'll probably get into it a little bit later, but it was a whole process as we started looking at going into mobile learning. Our whole philosophy was the LMS was the glue, the whole mobile learning aspect together. So we went through a process and we settled on Canvas as our LMS.
Great. And next we'll go to Dene.
So I wanted to say that our school is like really unique in the fact that there really are a whole lot of learning systems that are in place, and really and truly it's based on the teacher's discretion in a lot of cases. So I think that's one of the things that makes us unique. So first and foremost, Google Classroom is something that we will be moving forward with more it'll be visible more in more classrooms. A couple of the teachers piloted that this year, and it has worked really well for students. I, at the same time, piloted something called Fresh Grade, and Fresh Grade has really given me an opportunity to get the parents more involved in what's going on in school, and it's a great way to really accomplish a lot of things. So there will be, I'm sure, more things in the works as we go forward, but those are the two biggest ones that we've experienced so far.
Okay, fantastic. And Jessica, how about you?
So similar to Dene, although at the district level, our district actually has a lot of different systems in play as well. So really right now it's a school-based choice, and actually even down to the teacher. So you may have several systems in a particular school. So across our district we have Edmodo, Schoology, Canvas. Moodle is something that we've used a lot in the district, and we have several schools who really built their programs around Moodle. But we also have It's Learning and a lot of use of Google Classroom, though I wouldn't consider that an LMS. I would say that's more LMS light, but definitely some LMS features in there that people have really been using a lot more recently in the last year or two. So we're kind of across the board. And then as a district, we just went through the RFP process to choose a district-wide, not that it would be mandated, but that it would be supported, one system. And so the system that was chosen was Schoology. So now we're in the process of looking at how we roll that out, and looking at 2, 3, 4, 5 years, how we kind of get everybody in that system, but also using it really well.
All right, fantastic, fantastic. So the next question on deck is, does an LMS breed innovation or stifle creativity? So, before we ask that question, we have Carla, who has just joined us. Carla, if you could please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Carla Jefferson. I'm an instructional technology coordinator for a school district in South Carolina.
All right, fantastic, and we're happy to have you back. I was just telling everyone before we went live that you were probably catching your breath because we just had a very intense conversation that was a fantastic combo about equity with STEAM in schools right before this. All right, so the next question that we have is, does an LMS breed innovation or stifle creativity, and why? So Adam, would you like to take that one? I see you are unmuted. So
okay, yep, I can hop in there. Well, I honestly think about it as, how are we trying to use the LMS? I heard some of the panelists talk about how it's they use different LMI, LMS in their district. And one thing that we decided to do with that, we have one LMS tool, but we honestly told the teachers it's not about you. Because we had teachers say, well, I like this one, it lets me do this, that. And I had to break it down, and I told them it's not about you, it's about the students. And the similarities we drew to it were, how would you feel if we wanted you to use a different gradebook program for every class period that you taught, having a different login, a different way to kind of do things. So when we broke it to the teachers in that manner, it made more sense for them to have a common LMS tool so students could have that same space no matter what classroom they went to. If they transfer within district, they would have that same learning experience. But with that LMS tool, it allows teachers then the flexibility to then do certain things in their classroom and to kind of have a common language, but you can still be creative in that platform, but you are still kind of following the same pattern as far as how students access those resources, but ultimately what they do is up to the individual teacher.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, Jessica.
So I think that's a great point, that you need to always be thinking about the user experience. And, I think that's something that, especially from the district level, we struggle to do that because, particularly in my district, we have about 6,500 teachers who we're trying to support and 90,000 students. And so when you think about what system can serve all of their needs, there isn't one. And so I think that that's where you actually can choose a system or, a couple of systems and support that choice, but then really work with the teachers individually and the school leaders and the coaches and everybody who's playing a role in these classrooms to help them to understand, just like with any technology, you can use it in really creative, innovative ways, or you can use it as substitution for your worksheets. And so the way that you are supporting the people who are using this system is crucial. And I think that's where a lot of times we kind of fall short, because in general we tend to spend all of that work up front saying, how are we going to pick the system? We're going to do all this user feedback and research, and then we pick it and we say, okay, we chose, here you go. Now go and use the system. But that's actually where the most important work has to start, because everybody needs to start using it. Everybody needs to be supported. And you can't just stick that in the classroom with the teachers and expect them to figure it out. We really have to model it and work together to figure out, how do we teach parents how to use this? How do we make sure parents even have access to the system? Do they know how to access it on their phones? Because a lot of our kids don't have access to technology at home, but they do have a cell phone. So how do we look at that? So I think it's all in how you use it, but how you use it really comes back to, what is the professional learning that's available? How are you doing it gradually? How are you really making sure that people are supported and that you're really listening to their needs? You're not just sort of sticking something out there and hoping that it works. Because when you do that, I've seen some of the most amazing creativity happening in the classrooms within an LMS, because everybody from parent to student to teacher to school admin really felt like they understood that system and they knew what to do with it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Nancy. I'm sorry.
I agree so much. No matter if the learning environment is face-to-face or virtual, there are things that we know about how kids learn. We know that making emotional connection with them is essential, connecting them to prior knowledge, for instance, but also engaging multiple senses. And somehow we have to figure out how to use this technology tool to create a learning environment that can breed creativity and innovation. And it's up to the teacher to design. And so our emphasis in professional learning, as Jessica was saying, is critical to be not just on how to use the tool, but how do you design learning well for an online environment.
Absolutely. All right, Dean, I see your hand up.
So I believe, and certainly I agree with all the comments that have been made already. I think that the LMS has the potential to work both ways. It can be an innovation, or it could stifle creativity. And I say stifle creativity because I think it stifles creativity when you don't expose the kids to it, and you don't know exactly, like I believe Jessica said, what the purpose for the system is going to be for. And I think that that creates a limitation. And I think also when kids are not exposed to it, I think there has to be some sort of exposure to dealing with technological tools. I've noticed that kids have limited experience, especially like it was mentioned, if they don't have things at home available for them to use, just the wherewithal of how to pick it up and manipulate the device could be a limitation as well, or stifling their ability to be able to use it properly. Of course, innovation, like with Fresh Grade I mentioned earlier, I've seen a lot of growth that has taken place through actually trying things and figuring out how to upload things to the system, and their creativity involved in that. For example, videos, pictures, the wealth of different things that you can use to sort of document that growth. So I think it can work both ways. It just depends. It depends on how you approach it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Carla?
I definitely agree with what everyone else said. And when I think about it, our bottom line, our goal is to teach children to think for themselves. And so, no matter what the tool is, that's the end game. And so we even talk to teachers about, like, we're not trying to make a tool like, we say, oh, I want to use Schoology. Let me design a lesson that will allow me to use this specific LMS or this tool. What is the goal? What do we want children to learn? And then find the tool that best fits with that, if a tool does fit with that. I think also when we feel like, I think like what Adam said about teachers, saying that they feel stifled, but, you have to bring it into perspective for them about, we tell our teachers, we give you free reign, but this is the tool that we have agreed upon that we think will most benefit our students, and so this is the one that we'll support. Not saying that you can't use something else, that's fine, but with just with anything, there's only so much that no matter how much staff you have that you're able to support. And so knowing that, yes, this is a tool that we are encouraging you to use, but it's not the end all be all. And there's no way that an LMS will be it for students or for teachers. So let's talk about how we can use that tool to then enhance what students are, as a way to demonstrate or to provide a portfolio of what students are actually learning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So the next question.
Hold on. Could I add something in that
Oh,
real
yeah.
quick?
Please do. Please do.
Yeah. One thing I think that we have to make sure that we keep in mind in this whole process, who do we serve in education? I think sometimes that gets lost. I know as a teacher, sometimes it gets a little clearer. Sometimes as an administrator, it gets a little fuzzier. Sometimes it's in between. But ultimately, if the LMS tool is supposed to, if our clients, if you want to look at it from a business perspective, are students, we have to make sure in this whole selection process, are we getting the students involved in this process? Are the students sitting at the table and looking at the LMS and feeling comfortable in that interface? And I think sometimes as in education, we get so caught up in not mandating certain things. I'm a big fan of freedom, but sometimes you have a mandate. I mean, you don't get a choice in your gradebook program, for example. If you're using Infinite Campus or you're using Power Schools, that's the gradebook program your district is using because it works best to get the data and information that we need for kids. So when we're looking at a platform, if the students are involved, and sometimes it may be a situation where we have to have an LMS that's different for elementary. I know in this district that I'm in now, we're using Google Classroom for elementary because that seems a little bit easier for them to get into and kind of do those things. But, we have to, in my opinion, you have to kind of be clear as like Carla just mentioned, supporting multiple platforms. It can become a nightmare from the instructional technology side when you have multiple platforms, multiple interfaces, uploading students, and if you're doing grades in there, how's it going to interface? It could be a logistical nightmare. So I think in this area, you have to kind of be firm on what your decision is. As long as your stakeholders are involved and you have that consensus, make sure you can support it and get the most out of the program.
That is a great point, bringing in the student voice and definitely, having all stakeholders contribute to that process. Fantastic. So we have another question on deck for you. How can teachers promote, support, and model creativity in the LMS environment? So maybe some examples that you've seen of that, of creativity in regards to the LMS. So I see everyone has their thinking caps on.
I can just hop right here. I know one of the districts here in the Missouri area called Springfield, they really have kind of set the model in this region for how they use their LMS tool, Canvas. What they've done is they've actually got rid of they were using PD360 as their professional development tool. And what they have decided to do is they've actually created an online learning department within their school district. And it allows teachers to kind of create their curriculum, their coursework in this collaborative online space. A lot of the PLCs, all of the PLCs actually take place in their LMS tool. And they have a area where teachers can submit lessons or activities or interactive things that they've worked out in the classroom with their devices. And they can post those lessons and online videos kind of like an assignment into their LMS where other teachers can search for it and pull it and utilize those tools. So really getting the teachers into the LMS tool from a student side, if you will, so kind of see what those features are so then they can hopefully integrate those same things within their classroom space with their students.
Absolutely. And I saw that Carla unmuted herself, so we're going to go to Carla next.
We've done pretty much exactly the same thing that Adam shared. We recently decided to support an LMS financially because a lot of them, the basic form is free. This one we're paying for some of the bells and whistles that come with it. But what we encourage teachers to do, and even as a classroom teacher, what I did and what my partners did is, as we were designing activities for students to do, we always modeled that same um, assignment. So before we asked them to create an iMovie on something, then we created an iMovie to use as a sample. And also, even with blogging, our students have blogs, but then we had our own teacher blogs within that blogging platform so that they could see that we were utilizing the tool the same way that we wanted them to be able to utilize the tool. And that's one of the things that we're struggling with now as our district is in year 2 of a one-to-one Apple device enrollment rollout. And so because of that, we have teachers, we have a range of teachers and their level of expertise, I should say. And so sometimes we have teachers who, assign students assignments. I use iMovie as an example. They have to create an iMovie on a topic, and they will tell the students, well, don't ask me because I don't know how to use it. And that is unfair to children. If you don't know how to utilize a tool, then you doggone sure shouldn't assign it to another, for students to do. And yes, we do expect for students to be critical thinkers and learn how to figure things out. And I'm not taking that away from them. But then in that case, then there also should be, then the assignment due date should be a little longer than what it initially is. We have to set the example. So when our last Tuesday of the school year for teachers was professional development. And so we used our LMS to pretty much launch that day, so that they logged in as students into a class, professional development course, and they participated in activities and the assessment piece and the groups and the same way that we are expecting for them to do with students. And I think that's probably the best way to do it, for them to see what it's like as a student and the potential of it, and then in turn that will allow them to kind of give them some ideas of ways that they can use it in their classroom.
All right, great. Thank you so much. So Jessica has some thoughts, and then after that, I'll go to Dene.
Yeah, so I think, one of the things that I think about when I think of creativity and how we help students to really, just jump in and be creative is giving them lots of voice and lots of choice over what it is that they're doing. And that, for me, that is what personalized learning is all about, is, student voice, student choice, agency over what they're doing. I think in Carla's example, that's a perfect opportunity for students to be empowered in their classroom and to be able to come together as a community. I was one of the first classrooms that did one-to-one Chromebooks in my district, and I didn't know the first thing about a Chromebook because no one had touched a Chromebook before. And so there were so many things that I did not know. The only reason that I know what I do now about Chromebooks is because my 4th graders were able to show me, and we were a community of learners, and we did it together. And Carla makes a great point that yes, don't have different expectations for the learners in your classroom, but have the same expectations for them as for yourself, and model that with them. Say, we are learners together. We are going to figure this out together. We're going to be patient with each other. We're going to support each other. And I think when it comes to creativity, the more you give them choice, the more you help them understand their learner profile and who they are as learners, and let them really figure out, based on who I am and what my needs are and what this task is that's being asked of me, I'm going to make this choice because I know that is going to help me to, really get to my end result in the best way possible. And there are so many opportunities in an LMS to set those kinds of opportunities up and make it actually manageable for a teacher. We always talked about differentiation for years and years. We've been talking about that, but for one person to differentiate for 30, 35 kids who are in front of them for every minute of every day, it's impossible. What you can do is create opportunities for them to differentiate for themselves. And so that, to me, is where that creativity comes in, because I don't need you to do the task in the exact same way as everyone else in the class. Half the time, I'm going to plan a lesson and think, oh, they're going to want to do it this way, and they're going to come up with 5 way better ways to accomplish that task anyway and make a better lesson plan than I ever could. So I think that's really where you can harness the power of an LMS and really own that together as a community and just dig in there and explore and see what it does, and then be humble, be willing to say, I didn't know that it could do that, or, you know, I don't know, let's find out together. Or, you know what, guys, I didn't realize it was going to take us so long to do this assignment. I'm going to extend the deadline because we realized some things along the way. Like, all of that, I think, is just how you go about it. And then you do have a personalized classroom, and you do have a lot of opportunities for that creativity and for kids to jump in with their own voice.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, Dean, going to you next.
I wish I had a like button because I heard so many things that I just completely agree with. The term student-centered classroom really comes to my mind. I am a huge proponent of empowerment, and sometimes even in the modeling that has been mentioned by Carla and Jessica, even in the modeling, I can model 5 different ways to approach the same thing, the same assignment, so the kids understand, wow, well, perhaps I don't really, that's not my way, or perhaps this way is my way, or perhaps I'll put these two together and make a totally different way. So I totally support being able to show students that creativity is not limited to one route. There's many different ways to reach your destination, by plane, by boat, by car, by train, but ultimately you'll reach your destination. And I'll just speak quickly on Fresh Grade. You know, Fresh Grade has been such a help for me because now kids upon taking it upon themselves to use it as a tool for learning, even outside of what I may have required for them to do. So I'll get messages and they'll be practicing their vocabulary, or they'll be writing notes or reflections about how they felt about certain activities that we've accomplished in class. So really learning becomes their own. And they become empowered to do these things when we are able to allow them to exercise that creativity in the classroom. Now I'm all about it. So, yes.
All right, fantastic, fantastic. And Nancy, we're going to close out by asking you the same question about creativity with the LMS.
I absolutely agree with everybody here. I think we should all start our own virtual school or something because you guys obviously all get it. Good teaching is good teaching, and whether it's virtual or face-to-face. And as long as we keep in mind all of those things that make it relevant and meaningful for kids, we'll be heading down the right path. Creativity, modeling, I loved that comment about modeling, and we also do a great deal of professional learning in our Moodle system, and particularly book studies, and so you need to experience it as a learner to be able to use it effectively with your own students. I absolutely agree with that. And the voice and choice, absolutely that as well. When one of our panelists that will be with us at ISTE, Heather Scott, teaches high school in my district. She has done some amazing projects with her kids in Edmodo, and they always get to choose how they're going to show their learning, and they build their projects inside Edmodo and they collaborate there, and she can pop into the small groups. It's just fantastic to see the community that she's managed to build even in an online space. And I know a lot of teachers say it can't be done, but they've done it, and I can't wait to hear more about what she's been putting in place. So.
Fantastic. Well, this has been such a great discussion, and kind of piggybacking off of Nancy's comment, then there will be an ISTE LMS. Is that the hashtag? Hashtag ISTE LMS session?
Is.
Yep. Okay. Going on Monday at, help me out with the time, y'all.
4:15?
4:15.
That's right. 4:15. Yes.
Yeah, 4:15 to 5:45, I believe. So that's going to be featuring Nancy and Jessica and a few other folks who are not on panel with us today. So definitely check that out at ISTE. But I definitely want to thank all of the panelists who were here tonight. This was such a great conversation. So thank you so much, Adam, Carla, Dean, Jessica, Nancy. And thank you to everyone who was tweeting, everyone who was watching. I see you all down at the bottom, your numbers and everything. So thank you all for tuning in. The transcript will be available in just a few minutes, and the audio will be stripped and available as an iTunes podcast. So next week, we are going to be having yet another doubleheader, but there will be a time change because I will be in San Diego, ha ha ha. So it's going to be Eastern time. It'll be 12 noon will be the first one, and that's actually going to be on blab.im, the very first tweet and talk on Blab. But that's going to be regarding a special project put together called #GetToISTE, so y'all can check that out. And there's also at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, tweet and talk number 50 called "Why Doesn't Anyone Look Like Me?" and it's talking about diversity in terms of keynotes and conference presenters. So definitely check that out, bit.ly/tweettalk50. All right, so everyone have a fantastic night. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us, and looking forward to the next episode. So everybody have a great evening.
Over so soon?
I know. Time flies when you're having fun. All right. Good night, everybody.